Welcome to Cupcakes and Clarity, the podcast for high-achieving women who want success and fulfillment without burning it all down. I'm your host, Lisa Pirinelli, and every Tuesday I'm bringing you honest conversations and practical strategies to help you create more balance, purpose, and joy in your work and your life. Think of this as a heart-to-heart with a trusted friend. Together we'll get real about the challenges you face, and you'll leave every episode feeling clear, confident, and inspired to make your next chapter your best one yet. Welcome back to Cupcakes and Clarity. I'm your host, Lisa Pirinelli, and today we're wrapping up our Freedom Map series with a real-life twist. If you've been following along, you already uncovered your values, created your vision, and started aligning your time and energy with what matters most. And now we're diving into steps 4 and 5, how to take action and stay consistent even when life gets messy. Because let's be honest, it will. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress that fits your season. So grab a coffee or maybe a cupcake, and let's talk about how to keep your freedom journey going one imperfect step at a time. Step 4 is where you're going to create the plan. And this is your pathway forward. This is where your vision starts to take shape in real life. Your vision gives you direction, but your plan gives you traction. It's what turns someday into starting today. Now, this is also the step where people often get stuck. We wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, and then life laughs. So, instead, focus on imperfect action. This step is about creating sustainable momentum, not rigid systems. Rhythms flex with life seasons, but routines often break under pressure. Let's run through some examples of how this shows up in our daily lives and how to reframe the plan to make it work for you right now. The example I see a lot is an all or nothing routine. This is where so many of the women I work with tend to have perfectionistic standards with extremely high expectations of themselves, even when it comes to creating what is supposed to be a self-care practice. So they create a perfect morning routine, your journaling, workout, meditation. But if you miss one piece, you feel like you failed and you drop the whole thing. This could be where you start beating yourself up for not following through or being disappointed or even just kind of pretending like it never happened in the first place. A rhythm is more forgiving. If your mornings don't work, you can connect to your day's intention while making lunch or during your commute. This is about finding a rhythm that connects. It's creating a connection, not following the clock or a specific format. So another example is the new season shift. This is where maybe a mom who had a rhythm that worked when her kids were in school suddenly feels off when a break hits. So summer break, holiday breaks, these are going to cause a shift in the standard rhythm that she's used to. And so if she tries to force the old plan, she gets frustrated. This also has happened to me. This is one that I am familiar with because I enjoy my morning walks alone and listening to podcasts. So if my kiddo is home from school, I don't have that same routine since I typically walk once she gets on the bus. So I've had to learn to shift the way I do that, which is either I get moving earlier in the morning before my husband leaves for work, or I need to get creative and find ways to either exercise with her, or we go on walks and I don't listen to podcasts, or I find a different time to listen. I have to get creative. And so, sometimes it's frustrating because I really get used to my rhythms, but I find ways to figure it out and realize, this is just a short period of time and I can get back into that rhythm once school starts. So rhythms change with the seasons. You can keep your anchor habit like journaling or a weekly reset or walking, but you shift how and when you do them. The rhythm allows for flexibility. It's not rigid. The next one is the busyness creep. Someone's values and vision are clear. but they slowly fill their calendar again with commitments that don't align. So like volunteering, extra projects, social obligations. This is extremely common towards the end of the year as the holidays approach. There's definitely more school volunteering opportunities for class parties, field trips, and in some of the work environments, it could be holiday parties, it could be fundraising if you're in nonprofits, all different kinds of things. And then even now with Halloween upon us, there's Halloween parties and then trick-or-treating and all these different things that are filling your calendar that maybe aren't traditionally there. So the rhythm check-in helps you notice when your week no longer feels like you. It's not about time management. It's about strengthening your ability to be your own energy protector. Another one that's probably very common for most of us is the consistency guilt. This is where someone thinks consistency means doing the same thing every day. So when life interrupts, they feel like they're not disciplined enough. This can really lead into some really negative self-perceptions, anything to do around guilt. A lot of times you feel shame, you feel disappointment in yourself. This is where failure beliefs can come in. So a really great way to reframe this is instead of beating yourself up over or feeling guilty, real consistency is showing up with awareness, not perfection. Sometimes consistency looks like adjusting and returning, not repeating. So looking at things with a broader parameter can show you where you're making progress and accomplishing the goal long term. Instead of consistently doing the same thing daily, ask yourself, were you able to complete this more days than not within a week, a month, a year? And it's not about giving yourself the out. It's allowing yourself enough grace to keep momentum instead of burning down all you've achieved already. Your plan doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be started. Here's a simple rhythm to consider to get you started. It's called the 3x3 planning rule. You choose 3 goals and you take 3 actions toward each over 3 months. And using the freedom map that we've already done, you can even pick 3 goals. You can pick 3 values, which can be a goal if you're not currently living in those values. You can use your statement that we talked about before, your value statement, and figure out what it is those top 3 priorities are and the action you want to take towards getting that. So you can take 3 actions, give yourself 3 months. It's doable, it's flexible, and keeps you moving even when life gets messy. And if you're thinking, Lisa, I know what I want, but I can't seem to follow through. That's what I love helping women with in coaching sessions. We create simple, flexible plans that fit real life, not fantasy schedules. So after the episode, you can book a free consultation at lisapirinelli.com/connect, and we can work on making a plan for you, not against you. Here's the truth. Freedom doesn't last without protection, because even the best plan will fall apart if your boundaries do. Step 5 is where the rubber meets the road, staying grounded when life gets messy by protecting your priorities with boundaries and balance. This is what's going to help it be successful long term as well. This step is all about staying consistent when things don't go according to plan. When your schedule gets hijacked or you're exhausted or when everything feels urgent, because as we all know, no matter how aligned or intentional you are, life's going to throw curveballs. The goal isn't to avoid them, though we'd like to. It's to recover faster and come back to center. Here's 2 simple tips I have found very useful. One is the yes filter. So before saying yes, pause and ask, does this align with my top 3 values right now? This is really important to remember that you need to pause, because a lot of times people will ask something of us and we feel we need to get back immediately with a yes or a no. And we typically will feel like we need to say yes, unless you're just someone that really has done work in this area or just has very strong boundaries already established.
But it's pretty common for a lot of us to not be able to do that right off, especially if the person is in front of us. It's very easy to just say yes. It's kind of challenging sometimes to say no if you're not totally aligned with your values and are owning your time, knowing your calendar. So one tip I will give you is to go out to lisapirinelli.com/resources. And I actually have a short download. It's really quick to look through it. And you can read through the different yes types and see which ones relate to you. And it kind of helps you just understand like maybe where the pitfalls are that you are saying yes to something that really doesn't align with you. And there's examples on how to, you can politely say no in a way that feels a little more comfortable. And feel free to message me if you have any questions or something specific you'd like to work on. Another tip, I said 2. So number 2 is margin moments. This is where you build small pauses into your week to reset. Even 5 minutes count. This is I'll give you an example in a second of how I was not doing this and how it's really helped since I have started doing that. But back to the yes filter, one of my clients used to feel guilty about saying no. A lot of my clients have felt guilty about saying no. But in this particular case, then the person started protecting her mornings for her quiet work time. She realized that the first part of her day needed to be when she worked. If she didn't get that time in the morning, she would be less productive in the afternoon and things wouldn't get done. Once she realized that, she didn't need to do more to feel productive. She just needed to do what mattered most when it worked for her. So there have been times, going back to the margin moments, where I have scheduled back-to-back sessions or back-to-back meetings, and I didn't leave a break in between. Now, as most women know, after sitting for an hour and having a large drink, it is unwise to not include a few minutes between meetings for a bathroom run and a refill. It is not setting yourself up for success in the next meeting. So, I now try to schedule a buffer between sessions, allowing me to be much more present and focused and, let's be real, comfortable when I'm in the next session or meeting. We're all human, so it won't always work out perfectly. Consistency isn't about never slipping. It's about knowing how to recalibrate when you do. You might hit a derail moment. A derail moment is like when the week's going great and then your kid gets sick, your project falls apart, or you just hit an emotional wall. That's when you pause and ask, what matters most right now? That one question brings you back to solid ground. I had my own derail moment recently, which I'll share in just a few minutes after a few more examples of other ways that life can try to sabotage a well-intentioned plan, so stay tuned. A very common hijacker is the comparison spiral. You're scrolling, you see someone else's highlight reel, and suddenly you're questioning your whole pace or progress. When that happens, your values are your GPS. They remind you what lane you're in and why it matters to you. Then there's the emotional overload. When everything feels too heavy and you just keep pushing through instead of pausing. This is where you could say, we use expressions like, I'm going to pull my big girl pants up and just keep going. I got to power through. All of those comments that just make us think we're not allowed to stop. We're not allowed to breathe. We have to power through. But grounding looks like stillness, not striving. A short walk, a deep breath, a quick prayer. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Sometimes it's even about recognizing a realignment gap when what mattered 6 months ago just doesn't fit anymore. And that's okay. The freedom map is cyclical. You can always return to the earlier steps. You can always go back and look at what your top 3 values are. Did you accomplish a goal that maybe that value was already achieved, so it's not something you need to focus on right now? Or are you in a season of where you're really trying to build your business, so time with friends is going to have to go either to the wayside for just a little bit, or it's going to be less time? but you communicate that clearly and everybody understands that and can support you fully on that goal. But let's be honest. Then there's the self-criticism loop. You realize you've drifted a bit and immediately start beating yourself up instead of gently coming back. The example earlier about the morning routine where maybe it didn't work out very well one day or 1 week and suddenly you're beating yourself up. Instead of completely throwing it away or feeling bad about it, you just gently come back to it and maybe even redefine what that looks like or reimagine it. And it's not doing all 3 things in the morning: journaling, meditating, exercising. It's, okay, this week I'm going to start with exercise. Next week, I'm going to add in journaling. Or even next week, I'm going to journal in the morning, but I'm going to exercise later. Like, you can build the habit slowly. It doesn't all have to be all at once. That's a lot of habit to create when you haven't been doing it in maybe ever or in a long time. It's gracefully allowing yourself to ramp up. Step 5 reminds you grace is a growth strategy. You can't move forward well if you're fighting yourself. So here's this week's cupcake moment. Staying grounded isn't about holding it all together. It's about remembering you don't have to. You can pause, breathe, and begin again. And as I promised, I'm going to share the cupcake moment about me this week, or recently, that I had was a derailing moment. I started this podcast not that long ago, and I then had launch week, which just also happened to be the same week as my kiddos' fall break. And I got sick and lost my voice. I haven't completely gotten my voice 100% back, which maybe you're hearing. So I apologize if it's a little grovelly. I thought, seriously, life, how am I supposed to record my next episode and promote my brand new podcast with no voice? How am I going to create this wonderful, magical, and fun week with my kiddo while she's off of school when all I have the energy for is to lay in bed? And to add to that, anytime I did look at social media, here's posts from her classmates' families out enjoying super fun vacations in beautiful locations. Now I was also going down a comparison spiral too. I eventually took a deep breath, realized my body was telling me to rest, and that maybe it's okay that my kiddo also takes a little time to relax after weeks of being full throttle on the gas. I remembered our plans and that we had our own preferred styles of vacationing, including relaxing at home and chilling together. I didn't have to record the next episode immediately. I had planned ahead, so all would be okay. Life happened, and after a small internal tantrum and letting the frustration and the fears pass through, I realized that this is what life is throwing me right now, and I will get through it. And I did. My kiddo did, and we ended up having a break with plenty of fun memories created, including some of my favorite pastimes, which I don't typically get to do unless one of us is not feeling well, which is extra midday snuggles and movie watching time. So let's zoom out for a second. You've now walked through all 5 steps of the Freedom Map. Congratulations, you did it. You named what matters, defined your values, aligned your vision, you built some rhythms, not routines, and you're just going to stay grounded even when life gets messy. And this is where freedom really starts to show up. It's not about creating a perfect plan. It's about building a life that moves with your heart, not against it. As you take these steps forward, I want you to remember, the Freedom Map isn't something you finish. It's something you live. So wherever you are today, take one small action that helps you realign with what matters most. And hey, if you want to dive deeper, the Freedom Map workshop it's going to be a hands-on way to walk through these steps together in real time. If you found this Freedom Map series helpful, share this episode with a friend who could use a little clarity and encouragement. And hop on my email list so you don't miss workshop details. In the next episode, we'll be shifting into focusing on how to create holiday harmony during what tend to be some of the most chaotic, emotionally driven months of the year. I'll be sharing ways to celebrate this magical season while keeping your values, priorities, and energy protected. You are made for a life that feels lighter, more intentional, and deeply free. So until next time, keep choosing what matters most, one small, sweet step at a time. See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Cupcakes and Clarity. If today's conversation inspired you and you'd like even more tips and strategies tailored to your life, go to lisapirinelli.com/resources for more self-guided tools. And if you're ready for personal support to help you navigate what's holding you back, I'd love to meet you. Head over to lisapirinelli.com to schedule your free consultation call. New episodes drop every Tuesday, so be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean so much if you shared it with a friend or leave a quick review. Until next time, here's to creating more clarity, confidence, and joy in your life, one cupcake at a time.